Okay, well, thank you very much for coming, and thank you very much for MathSoc for inviting me. It's lovely to see you all, especially since I seem to know half of you, so it's sort of like seeing friends after a while. And how are you all? Yeah, awesome, and congratulations, by the way. And yeah, week 9, so I could imagine it's getting a bit tough for you, but you seem to be smiling. And are you okay? Cool, awesome. In that case, welcome. And yeah, so my talk, hey, okay. One of the screens is showing something different, which is fine. I'll look over there. And where's my stick? Here's my stick. So yeah, the title of the talk was given to me by MathSoc, Dynamic Approaches to Teaching Mathematics. And I will say something about that, but then I thought about it, and then I'm going to talk about something else. See whether this works properly. So 60 insights that make me a better teacher. And so that's a lot of insights, and only half of them that I thought of, but this is only, well, we only have a short while, so I'll try to be quick about it and not waste too much time. So the very first insight is that you should welcome whoever you're teaching, and sort of pay attention to who you're dealing with. So I think I've ticked that off. And yeah, and lovely to see you. But a lot of people don't do that. They just come in and start teaching, and that's not going to work very well. And speaking of which, you should also make it a bit engaging and tell a story. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'll just see whether I can adjust the camera a little bit over there. Maybe that's better. So the story that I'll tell is just about my own story, how I became a teacher and what I learned along the way. And there's several phases of this, and hopefully you find it interesting. And where it all starts is probably when I was a little bit younger than you, presumably in high school. And delay here, but I'll get used to it. So that's me at roughly 16 or 17 on a Danish summer beach, all crowded, and just my brother and dad looking a bit stern, not sure why. But anyway, as you see, I'm happy, but also I was, as you might be able to see from the picture, I was really shy, I was socially anxious at this time, and very, 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 very shy. And that's hard when you want to teach. As a teacher, there's a certain level of shyness that you can put up with, but it's going to be excruciating for all of you if I'm really, really shy. So that was one of the challenges that I have. And back then, my way of trying to overcome this challenge was not very productive. There were 2 ways, and the first one was just to get really, really drunk. So here's me almost comatose, and someone else is comatose in my eye. So I seem to not notice. So that wasn't very productive. There were several years of just getting too drunk and wasted time there, and it didn't make me less shy. It just made me a whole lot more embarrassed. So the other way was to try to be extrovert, which is, here we're trying to be cool for our final year high school class photo, not taking it seriously, not at all. So we're making a big effort of not taking it seriously. But I was trying to, be outgoing and extrovert, and that helped to some extent, but it didn't really address the underlying causes why I was going. But anyway, this is my class. And that was the first part of real teaching, and that's a really good place to start for any of you. And you might have done this already. In fact, I'm guessing that half of you might have. Just help your friends learn. If anyone is struggling with anything, then help them learn. And it's easy if you've got friends because you know them well and you might understand how you can teach them. So you need a whole lot of care. You need to actually give a shit. And that goes without saying, except a lot of teachers seem to not do that, according to my experience feedback that we get. And of course, you need empathy in order to hear, but also to understand how you're going to explain things to people and understand what they might need. And that's, of course, easy if you know the people already and if you care about them already. So it's good practice to help the people around you. And of course, once you, it might also be a little bit easier to be patient, or maybe not, depending on whether you're patient with those you know, or complete strangers, I don't know. But anyway, this is, of course, required. Of course, there's something in it for me too, apart from just people liking that I help them. And if you really want to learn something, then one of the best ways to learn it is to teach it. You really have to know your stuff in order to teach it well. So this helped me quite a lot. So another thing in high school was this person there, this teacher, and he looks pretty grumpy there. He always looked grumpy. He was a lovely guy. He was pretty high quality though, and he had high standards for himself and us and everyone around him. And that was actually really good, both in his teaching, but also he had a good PhD degree. He was going places, but then the job market dropped out when he graduated, and then he went to high school teaching instead. He kept up doing research all of his life, still alive, still doing research. Also wrote books for high schools and was part of the national curriculum design. Did a whole lot of good in that space too, and I'm not sure which of the worlds would be better for him. He seemed to find both. So I was very lucky to have him, but also lucky because his attitude was to expect a lot of us, but also to go beyond the curriculum with context and stuff that we should know, he thought, and also to demand that or encourage us to be independent, think for ourselves, and give us in research projects like a week here. Just do this. It's got nothing to do with curriculum, but just explore, see what you come, sort of in a scaffolded way. And that was great for us. It was of interest with some of the people who weren't great at maths, but in general, it helped me a lot at least. And it did, and still does influence the way that I think about how to teach myself. So after high school, I didn't quite know what to do. I think I had the luxury of taking 2 years off first to earn money, save up to go to Australia. This was from Denmark, and travel around. Here's a motorbike, which I didn't know what I was doing, so it was a bit of a myth adventure rather than an adventure. But anyway, I survived it with a bit of trauma. Came back and had an idea. I'm going to study philosophy because that's sort of fun. I get to know things about the world. Then I thought about it. No, they're just talking all this. Maybe physics. Maybe I'll know the secrets of the world. Look, I was very young. Anyway, so I started physics with maths on the side, as you do. But then I found out that I'm not very good at physics. I'm much better at maths. Then oh yeah, okay, maybe I'll do this instead. It didn't really grab my attention, but for some reason, maybe because I had friends, family that had gone on to do PhDs, and I made an embarrassment of myself. This was a couple of months into the uni studies, new term and whatever, and we had mentors that were helping us get into the system and be social and whatever. The first big university party, like 10,000 people, a big concert, and everyone drunk. I was very, very drunk, as and I was saying to my mentors, "Yeah, I'm going to do a PhD in maths." I didn't know what a PhD was, but it sounded very cool. And they said, "Yes, of course you do. But you do know that it's a bit hard. Most people don't actually end up getting into the program, so don't have too high expectations. Oh, just you watch and see." And the day after, I was mortified. "Oh, no, what have I said? That's so embarrassing." I was very embarrassed, but I used that embarrassment to drive myself to make it happen. So for the next 4 years, I worked much harder than I would have otherwise. But I didn't work particularly hard. I was a bad student the first 2 years, thinking too much, it's like computer games, being social, and other stuff. So I did fail a couple of physics courses, have to make up for that later. But then, yeah, one thing, be humble, don't brag. But if you do make a mistake, then use those emotions constructively. And of course, that is very, very relevant for teaching as well, as I'll come into again. But that's actually a bigger point. A lot of people, especially sort of traditionally, say teaching is not about emotions. You know, it's about instruction. It's sort of like Brave New World, where you've got bins of knowledge that you're stuffing down pipes into people's heads. But of course, it's a human endeavor. It's a social thing, and you know, so emotions are part of that. And anyway, after a year or two of studying, then I found combinatorics. Took a couple of courses of that, actually 3. And I fell in love with that. And finally, there was something that actually interested me, not just sort of general, oh, this is sort of okay. And then I knew that I wanted to do this. And then I worked even harder and finally got into the PhD program and so forth. Or rather, that was a bit of an interesting detail too. Before going, or just before getting the PhD program, I asked my favorite lecturer, who was in charge of combinatorics courses, "Would you like to be my supervisor?" And he said, "Sure." Because he'd been nice up to then. And he said, "No." Because he had a company on the side which he was much more busy with than his actual job. That wouldn't be announced today, but anyway, I said, "Okay, well, what about if I find an unofficial supervisor somewhere, and you can just, you know, once every year, tick a box and sign something?" He said, "Okay, fine." "Okay, thank you very much. How do I find a real supervisor?" I don't know. Maybe Google. So Google was a new thing at the time. This is ages ago, by the way. So that was actually really good advice, because then I went, and not knowing what I did was actually really good, because I said, "Oh, okay, who's the top people in combinatorics?" Okay, someone at MIT, someone, you know, and wrote to them, "Hey, could you please be my supervisor? I'm with money, I don't have to do any paperwork. it won't be official, but they all said, yeah, sure. There's a lot of generosity among the experts, especially in maths, because they have nothing to lose and they like to be generous. Get a bit of help extra. So that's really lovely. And so it all worked out. And that was so much better than having a mediocre disinterested supervisor at a good, but not on top of the university. So that's where I went. So find your interest, that is complementary for me. Once you do, then things are a lot easier, happier, and productive. And don't give up and be creative if you need to be, as that example showed. Yeah, so got to MIT the first year of PhD, and my supervisor was this legend, Giancarlo Rota. He was a massively famous figure and supervised a lot of people. He'd constructed his own field, basically, combinatorics. It wasn't the field before he promoted it and developed it, really. There was a lot of combinatorics there, but it was looked down on to the point that no one acknowledged that it even existed. So he was one of the founding fathers, and everyone was in awe of him. I was a little bit too, but he was so lovely and generous. And he was, yeah, just a really lovely person. Very, very generous, as I say, but also full of humour, full of encouragement. Introduced me to both projects and people around him. And also, I followed a couple of his courses and was influenced by the way that he taught. Beautiful work, very, very well prepared, but also very thoughtful, very, very engaging and inclusive. But also a bit of a rebel. He was doing things his own way. And, you know, not being a rebel for the sake of it, just doing it because I think this direction is good, regardless of whatever anyone else says. It feels right, it seems right, then he'd just do it. And that had brought him into mischief and trouble previously, but now he was a legend, so everyone was copying him instead. And but I thought that was a very good point. So be generous, work hard, and of course, respect people as he did there. But be a bit of a rebel if you need to. Encouraged to do that and lead your own way. There was also another thing that, yeah, learn from the experts. So here you see me learning from my old high school teacher and this guy. And, you can do it your own way. You don't have to do what they do. They often know something that you might not know. And if you go to the best people, then you might learn the best stuff. Or not, who knows? It depends on the match. But there was one more thing too, because at the end of the year, near the end of the year, he died. It was a massive blow to everyone. And it was sad too. He was only about 66, 67, so not even on the retirement age. But he was still happy. On the other hand, he was already turning into an icon. Like people were treating him more with reverence than with friendship and equality. And a lot of his had died already, and his wife, they were on good terms, but he divorced him 20 years ago because he dedicated his life to the work. And he had become a big guru, and that's all. And I was thinking, you know, young and ambitious, oh, I'm going to be big too. But then I saw that maybe that's not great. You can put in a whole lot of effort to be some top person, but at what cost? You need to, you know, have some sort of balance that suits you, life and happiness and all this. Otherwise, you might end up famous but miserable. He didn't reach that point, but he would have if he lived on another 20 years already. So that was a really big insight, and that sort of adjusted the way that I thought about how much I should work and research and you know, what I wanted to do with my life and so forth. Anyway, then I asked one of the other people had to go back to do some tutoring, which is good practice at the university. But then another eminent supervisor in London, who I got other excellent advice. It's not too much to say with respect to education there. And but after my PhD, then my first okay, there was a little bit more at MIT, which I should not forget. This is another legendary figure in combinatorics, a genius and such a lovely person as well, Daniel Kleitman. And this was how his office was and how his head was as well. He was chaotic and very, very entertaining. But it was really good to meet these people and meet a lot of other people, including just friends among the other PhD students. All of us seem to have academic positions now. They're more eminent than me. But here we are on the floor, being poor students, having made sushi ourselves. You know, that was sort of, I think both of us have mouths full of food. And anyway, so that's how that was. But it's useful to connect, even if you're you know, morbidly shy and socially anxious, like I was at the time. Then you know, it's good to connect anyway. Go over your comfort zone and just make connections, because those connections are useful even if it does promotion and support whatever later on in life. Unexpected. Anyway, so get it. So bunnies. So my first postdoc, so that's the real job, so to speak, after you get your PhD, or you're not tenured, you don't have a professorship or whatever, but it's sort of like you've done your apprenticeship and you're a journeyman, journeying around to the masters before you become a master yourself. It's actually an apprentice system. And this was my first journeyman positions, and that was actually in the University of Victoria, in British Columbia, in Canada. Beautiful place, and I could show you a lot of pictures, but I'll tell you bunnies instead, because there are lots of bunnies on campus. A lot of stuff to talk about there, but with respect to teaching, it was a little less, and there was one or two interesting points to make. Most of my stay there was about research, going to libraries and thinking by myself and doing stuff, notepads and computer stuff by myself pretty much, and sometimes meeting with my supervisors and telling them what I've done. But there was also this dreaded term where I had to do some teaching. And up to now, I've done a whole lot of mentoring and helping students, and done a little bit of tutoring for money, and of course tutoring classes as a tutor, but haven't had a real lecture position yet. So this was my first big scary lecture position. And I was terrified. I was shitting myself. And I prepared so well. Actually, it was discrete maths, which was my area. So I knew it all. It was just a matter of presenting it and stumbling too much over my words and being nervous in front of 100 students. And it actually went well, except there are a couple of things that I learned from. I came straight from Denmark, where everything is egalitarian, and you have no taboos, a very, very free discourse, and also, as I say, egalitarian. And a lot of the students here were not like that, both in the sort of British-minded system, also a lot of people who came as international students and were quite religious, Christian, and me talking about, devil signs or whatever, was I quickly learned that, okay, don't make fun of people, religion and politics and stuff like that. Okay, it's not Denmark anymore. But also, more interestingly, the social contract is important, I found out. Different cultures have different expectations, social contracts, and it's good to experience them and adjust to them. That's what I had to do there. And the social contract here was that the people in the class did not expect things to be egalitarian. They wanted to say "sir" to me, pay me this sort of respect upwards, so that I'd be authoritarian and say, "You have to do this, don't do that." And you're an adult, like I treat you with that sort of level of disrespect, but they wanted that, so okay, good. Sure, I'll try to at least, and that's okay. But that was my fault, not their fault. I still don't like it. I disagree with it, but because part of the contract was there that they didn't really have to take responsibility for their own studies, and they might cheat a bit, and you're an adult, go do your studies. You're independent. We're equals. I'm here to help, not to boss you around. If you don't want to do what I say, then that's your issue. Drop out if for all I can. Well, actually, I do care, but it's up to you. But no, that doesn't work, and I've also had to modify my expectations of social contracts here a little bit. It's not quite to the same degree here. The Danish system was also 40% dropping out of first year, and if you look a bit broader than that, you should look at people's background as well. It's not just culture; it's also what are your actual situations. Like in Denmark, tuition is free. You can get a bit of money to study. So if you drop out, whatever, I'll say do something else. If you drop out and are paying a fortune, then it's not fun. So there is a whole, there's a whole set of parameters that I haven't taken into account, but we should teach people. So that was quite helpful and useful. I had a postdoc period in Denmark after this at the Danish Technological University, and that was wonderful, but I didn't do much teaching, so I'm going to skip that. The next thing was that my wife, got a wife and even a kid, at this point had found a PhD position in Sydney, so we came to Sydney. Now, this is something I found in old papers a couple of years ago, and from UNSW, where I then ended. I got a grant. I was here minding the kid, but then I applied for a grant from Carlsberg, the beer company. Give a lot of money to philanthropy and science and culture. But I have done that since their inception about 150 years ago. And I got a big fat grant, beer money, do some research. year, and then I got another bag of money from the Australian Research Council to do another 3 years, and then I ended up as lecturer eventually in 2010. But before that, I hadn't heard of UNSW, didn't know what it was. So it was sort of interesting to find that in old papers from around about 15, must have been 17 or so. And it was sent to me by my dad's half uncle, who happens to live here in Sydney. And so I think he did some tutoring. Yeah, and he must have sent me a science newsletter. I don't know whether that's around anymore, but anyway, there might have been some interesting math problems. I don't know why he sent it to me, but anyway, must have gone to some length to write some competition answers, and then I won this, and then I got to I think I got a t-shirt. And then I love it. Science is fashionable. Who are you trying to kid? I mean, freedom. Look, if you've got to convince them that convince people that it's fashionable, then it's probably not. But anyway, I don't know. They could have. I mean, I'm not a fan of branding in general, but just a tiny bit might help. It's sort of, yeah. Anyway, it's sort of funny that I ended up here. That's my half uncle. That's anyway. So here I was, and to begin with, I was just doing research, but then I did a little bit of teaching. I was doing discrete math. I loved that. Did generally pretty well at that. But then I also had to take a yeah. So this is the sort of one of the unofficial school logos. Just to say that now I'm in school doing school things. And once I'd become a staff member, there's something you're doing more than teaching and research. You're doing a whole lot of administration, a lot of administration. And one of them was a usual role that you get as a young academic is to be seminar organizer. That forces you to talk to people, boss people around, take professors to lunch, and awkwardly engage with mathematicians. You know, that might be more awkward to try than me. And that was really painful, but really good experience for a couple of years just to make me better at doing these sort of things and more. And I think I've done this try. At least I was able to overcome shyness and social awkwardness to the extent that I needed to. That helped a lot. There's also I was chair of publicity committee, actually MathSoc liaison, and these roles also help me in various ways to overcome that, and also just be more relaxed and fluent with talking to people. In Scandinavia, you tend to be a little bit more deep and a little bit more formal before you get into the beer and you open up. But small talk is not such a thing. So I sort of had to learn that difference being and as well. There was also some editorial jobs that I'm editor for. This one here, Parabola, for instance. You might have heard of it. If not, then look it up. It's almost 60 years old in our school. It's mainly for high school students and people like you and anyone interested in maths, sort of recreation maths that you can contribute to it. Please do. My job there involves a lot of communication with students from all around the world to sort of mentor them into how you write something, how you do some maths. So there's a lot of mentoring and supervision as well. I mentioned thesis and supervision. So there's a lot of teaching, which wasn't strictly teaching as well as teaching, like supervision, mentoring, and academic advice. So the more that you can do of that sort of stuff, the better you can teach, and you can give advice to people while you're teaching as well. Not just, you know, here's the content, give some broader advice as well. Anyway, so I did discrete math. Yeah, that was great, awesome. But I also did this course there, which I'd never heard of, and it was algebraic techniques in number theory. And I didn't know much algebra, and I definitely didn't know any number theory. So this was completely new to me, and it's a lovely course. It was one of the slightly easier third-year courses, but it was a bit of a blow. I had to do both the tutorials and the half of the lectures, and it was all new content. And I've been used to doing board work, and you know, it started off okay. The feedback, patient-friendly with a bit of humor when teaching. Oh, okay, that's nice. Willing to go out of this way to help students. Oh, yeah, now I feel good about myself. That's cool. I'm happy that they appreciate it. Try to speak louder and direct your voice towards students. Okay, I'll try to do that. And I did notice that I was saying you know, like noises and stuff like that. Okay. He came across very nervous and struggled to talk fluently. That's not great. The material written on the board is very messy. Okay, damn, that's not good. And many students didn't attend his final lectures as they thought it was easier to learn from his way. Okay, I need to improve. I need to get a lot better than that. That's not. Yeah, that's And the worst thing was that they could tell that they really liked me. So they weren't angry. They were pitying. They, said, yes, we forgive you. We really know that you tried hard, but you failed. And, we've got to be honest. So that was even worse than if they'd just been assholes and, whatever. That they were actually, kind. This was an act of kindness writing this. So I had to do something. But that is the way, we might fail, but we just have to get better. It's learn how to improve. First thing I did was make some slides so that I didn't have messy board writing. Made some beautiful slides. Then I tried to listen to how I was talking and even made some recordings of how I sounded, which is painful and terrible, but it's good. And many other things. So I started in 2008, so 4.4 in my experience, and it was up nicely. Then it sort of went down a bit. That's also because I had to take on new courses where I was very, very busy. And there's more to the story, which I'll get to in a second. But I had 5 times in a row and got up to the full 6.0. And I was very happy and improved. But of course, there's much more to learn. A couple of things that I did to improve, of course, is just you get better with practice. If you pay attention to what you're doing and thinking about it, then you will get better. But also, it's such a silly thing. Try to improve. I mean, why wouldn't you? But I actually know quite a few people who don't. In fact, I know one professor who explicitly asked for auditoriums without any recording facilities so that they could do the same shitty job year after year without any evidence. That's terrible. I don't understand that. Anyway, just take your job if you do that sort of thing. But love it instead. Do your job properly and then love it. And hopefully you'll love it too. Anyway, be prepared. Another simple thing, but obviously I wasn't sufficiently prepared the first time. The more prepared you are, the happier you'll be, the less nervous you'll be, and of course it's to your benefit as well. But it's to everyone's benefit. Now, pay attention to voice and body language. That was a simple thing again, but something that I've done enough of at the time. And to make beautiful slides and notes. And again, I don't know many people who put a lot of effort into that. I find that it helps a lot. People appreciate it, and it's nice to look at. Makes you feel happy and not sort of paranoid. But also you can sort of make it like, right now here, if I forget what I'm supposed to be talking about, then I can say, oh yeah, that's what I'm supposed to be talking about. So it can be a bit of an aid as well. And of course engage, but this was actually a hard one because near the end there, I was getting, getting on top of things. Everyone seemed to enjoy quite a lot, but I did notice, especially in the first year courses, big first year courses like 113.1, where a lot of people don't want to be there and it's scary, a huge auditorium, and to be honest, a lot of the content is really boring. It was hard to engage people, so I did a lot of effort to try to engage people and ask questions and pose challenges. I think I've got that as well. Give extra challenges so that you get a bit of ownership yourself and stuff like that. That worked for a couple of people. Give a whole lot of context and anecdotes and historical, cultural additions, which I think should be there. But at the same time, I did notice, give lollies and pens to people who answered questions, all of those tricks. But I felt that there's sort of like some sort of glass ceiling that I just pushing through. So I really thought about that, do better instead of just doing all this, going to a lot of effort. Anyway, a funny solution came unexpectedly from when I got divorced, so roughly around about 2010 and 11, where I was getting my job on track and my wife had got her PhD done and was looking for work. A lot of pressures and pressures, and she got sick of me and fell in love with someone in Melbourne, took the kids, and I was alone in the house in February 2011, just about to teach a new course, 1131 in fact, and I was sheltered. This came out of the blue for me, and I was suicidally depressed. I was devastated, and most of my friends and family were in Sydney, and in Denmark. Suddenly my kids, soon to be ex-wife, in Melbourne. I was all alone there in a big empty cold house and shit. There were several interesting things that came out of that, really useful things that came out of it. When you're really depressed, often your empathy levels go up. And I've never had such glowing ratings about, oh, he's such a lovely, caring person, than when I was suicidally depressed. And most importantly, it doesn't matter how stuffed up your life can be, you've still got a job to do. There are 474 people in the auditorium, and they want their education, and half of them, just as miserable as you, and there are like 500 more people of them, so you're not important compared to them. You got to do your job. Doesn't matter. You know, so, and also I had to be a good dad. So there's no way out, but, you know, do your job. So that actually helps a lot. Just think of, you know, don't think of all of the things, just stick to what you have to do. But empathy does fluctuate. Not only does it go up when you get depressed, but even worse, well, I mean, that's a good thing, but not good that you are depressed, but it's not the worst thing is that when you're happy, it goes down. So that's actually a dangerous thing because you might not notice it, that you become a little bit blind to other people. Oh yeah, I'm happy, I'm entitled, I'm cool, I deserve this. Yeah, oh, you're not happy, what's wrong with you? Put yourself together. You know, like your empathy does go, and be mindful of that. And also try to create your empathy. You know, it's a muscle. Train it and be aware of it. So that was a good thing to be aware of. Now, one of the ways that I got through just being depressed and everything was while doing my job, but trying to still be a good dad and so forth. But I was very, very active. I was trying to save money as well. I had a bunch of money to pay my ex, but I lived 25 kilometers away from uni, and I just cycled there and cycled back most days, and cycled to climbing. And here I'm going to Geelong Caves because well, nothing else to do that's Friday evening, and so forth and so on. So I was monstrously fit and cycling so much. That actually really helped me because you can only be depressed for about half an hour and having all your thoughts before you're just tired of thinking and you're cycling and the endorphins are up and you're really happy. And yeah, okay, life's not too bad after. And then you have time to think about the lecture that you're rushing in to do, and a bit of panic because I should have late. And then you also can think, oh, okay, well, who is it that I'm going to meet? And what is their situation? Have time to think. And oh, okay, oh, yeah, it's week 9, and you might be a bit stressed, so I should bear that in mind. So, oh, there's a test coming up, okay, I should address that, and so forth. You can spend a bit of time thinking about who you're dealing with, but also, and that was important for me at the time especially, just make sure that your mood is okay. You know, if you come in depressed, and that's not going to be nice for anyone. So try to see your way out of the darkness and try to make your mood happy. And that's what I found out was really, really helpful. You know, I always sort of, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to be cheerful and enthusiastic, but I have to really focus on the actual emotions of just presenting it in a way that would suit the people who I come with. So lectures with happy energy, and that might take a little bit of, you know, bouncing up and down or whatever you want to do, cycling or whatever, but also just think about your mood, and try to tailor it in a way that, you know, look at the positives, and also if you can, you know, take care of students. They have it tougher than you do. There are at least more of them in the aggregate. They have it tougher than you do, certainly. And if you can see friends, in this case, it's easy. For example, half of you do consider to be friends, but even in the first year students, you've never seen them before, there are 400 of them. After a little while, you sort of recognize them and focus on that element of tiny bit of friendship feeling. And if you can capture that and actually look forward to seeing these people, sort of like new, you know, very shallow, but still new friends of the sort that you can happily share all this maths that you love, and also focus on the good parts of maths that you actually are excited about. Then you've got something to look forward to, then you'll actually be happy to see them. Like it's sort of emotional manipulation, but it's also at the same time true. So these techniques I find really helpful. Dignity is overrated. So here I am being a little bit excessive and clownish. You don't want too much of that. People have to trust that you know what you're talking about and have you as authorities with you, whatever. But who cares about sir and rural? You know, like that's useless. There's no need for that. If you allow yourself to discard a bit of dignity, and then you can do a lot of free and engaging things that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. You get to people's level, and then we're in it together. And so anyway, aim for understanding, appreciation, not ratings. This was at the point where I was getting really good ratings, but I noticed that it was actually very easy to get good ratings once you're sort of on top of things. All you need to do is come in with happy energy and take care of people and tell them what they need to do in order to pass the test. But I'm not going to do that. There was a colleague who had monstrously good success with that, legendary success with that, but he didn't actually teach anyone anything. No understanding, no appreciation, no context. That's not education. That's a waste of time. And you're here spending time and money and effort and stress on getting education. Even if you don't want it, I'm going to give it to you. And if you don't want it, maybe 10%. So depending on the course, it could be more. But no, I'm here to do my job, and if you don't like it, you can leave. No real feelings, but I'm going to do my job. So that was also an interesting realization. You know, education is what not skills, not training, not certificates, education. That's broader than just the context. It's about underlying standing values, appreciation, and you know, just how you think, especially in mathematics. That's important. Now, I wanted also to make it a lot more related. Human. Maths is not particularly human. Our brains are terrible at understanding maths. In fact, you know, we understand narrative and language. We're actually quite similar to, you know, ChatGPT and the other models. They're not very great at maths either, but they are great at language, and so are we. There's great logic, and there's a great logic in language. But unfortunately, in maths, we have to convert it awkwardly, especially if it's like algebraic notation or whatever, into something that we can actually sort of understand at an intuitive level. Luckily, we can often do that by presenting it sort of in small little narratives with human beings, or, you know, a dialogue or stories. And this is from Codes and Ciphers, which we're giving next term. Please join if you feel like that. And here's one from Discrete Math. You might have seen some of you. Three little sheep, Anna, Bar, and Kai. And a little story. It's a little bit of a macabre story, because there's a meat grinder, and there's a packaging machine, and there's minced meat. It's about composition of functions. Now, again, this might be a bit so brutal these days. Back then, everyone likes it. And everyone remembers it. That's the whole point. So your exams can be a little bit extreme, a little bit surreal, because they stick better. So use humor, use surprise, use something unexpected. Okay, maybe not use big grinders. I don't know. That might not work so well these days. It didn't work online. That was too brutal. I had to apologize. But in person, it's sort of the body language signifies, no, I'm actually, you know, maybe I have to find a new example. But the video, I'm not doing. So that's humanly relatable. Use narratives, analogies, props, especially in the. That oh no, this is all good stuff.
So like this writing on this.
Oh yeah. And yeah, this was for some of the recorded videos. We've got some of these studios which you can book. I think everyone can book with a couple of studios have these slideboards. You can go in. And they're pretty full, but if you can just get them to let you in at the end of the day. I spent the nights, you know, like 8-10 hours in a row for 2 very, very, very hectic weeks, recording it all by myself, trying to learn the system without any help. So the quality wasn't great, and I was really tired, and my pens ran out. Sorry, some of you have been afflicted by this. But lovely facilities, really, really lovely people there. Yeah, fully recommend. Thanks for it. By the way, props. I mean, if it's worthwhile, come in with silly props for math or discrete math. It does actually make a big difference sometimes. Just you know, what's a set? And they come with a bag or something. You know, so things. Oh, okay. You look in the bag. There are the elements. Little things like that make it much more relatable in a hurry. Like it's about minimizing the effort for getting the concepts understood. So therefore, also the slides should preferably be minimalistic and so forth. So anyway, all of these things I was getting better and better at, and sort of thinking, oh, yeah, this is going nicely. And what else is there? I don't know. You know, I'm just getting slightly better, and I'm at a level where I'm pretty comfortable. But then, yeah, and giving all this extra education, as I'm saying, make it personal, just like I'm doing here, about yourself or about the people in the room. If you're studying computer science, and we're talking about some graph algorithm, well, then it would be natural for me to say, oh, can you implement it in whatever computer language or whatever? Or if you're studying to be a teacher yourself, then ask about what you're doing. So not only personal about me, but about you. And all of these things, okay, that sounds great, you know. But then, of course, there was COVID. That brought a whole new set of challenges, but also insights. So there's me doing online teaching. And that was so interesting. I was so worried that people would be depressed and disconnected, unmotivated, and all of these things. So I was really worried about the students I was going to teach, and thinking, how can I make it better for them? I'm not even going to focus on content right now. I'm just going to try to help people, mental health wise for the time being. And so I tried to do that, of course, but especially in the course codes and ciphers, where I had complete control myself. I had to squabble with first year office about what I could do. I could design it and implement it the way I wanted. So what I did there was first design a good social contract. That was pretty much, that was so much easier online, where you say, I don't care what your usual social contracts are, what your expectations are, what your interactions and dynamics and biases are in a normal classroom. Leave that behind. We're going to have fun. God damn it. And you're going to learn and you're going to enjoy it, and I'm going to help you do that. And you should support each other, and we're going to have awesome fun, and you're going to get a top score, and that's how it's going to be. Damn it. And then I tried to coerce everyone into this social contract, and by the end of it, when people saw that it was worthwhile joining up, people did. But you need a bit of social engineering. I don't know whether it's a good or dirty word in English, but in Scandinavia, that's what you do all the time. You get people into shape socially. That's what I was trying to do. It's sort of much more specific, conscious way than I usually do. Community was rather important, especially COVID times, to get everyone together. But how do you can't just say people, hey, form a community. So first of all, lots of encouragement and yeah, we get together, all of those words, but they might feel a bit empty. So you need a couple of things for that to happen. You need a common focus, like the content of the course or whatever, something to be, some challenges. Communication, you need people to be able to communicate and collaborate together. So Moodle is terrible for that. So I got another one, which was Piazza, and there are other good ones too, but I chose another forum. And one of the very important things for that forum was that you can be anonymous. So that's allows people to go on. I don't know who you are. Then I just trust that people go, hey, everyone did. People live up to expectations. And you also have to have some goals that pull people together, and let people work together and help each other. And so that was some online tests which were very randomized. I spent hundreds of hours making them so that people could practice them and learn from them, treat them like sort of games or assignments, and help each other. And say, yeah, actually, you win that 10 out of 10. And once you've done 10 out of 10, try to speed run the test. Instead of 45 minutes, do it in 2. So, and it's so anonymity was very important, I felt. And that was also very true in lectures and tutorials as well. And you could get this sort of excited community energy going quite well, even though the lectures weren't completely anonymous. There was enough of it, and none of the usual bias that everyone pretty much joined in. It was really lovely. Anyway, there was sort of a gaming type community vibe to it, where everyone was pretty active on the forum. Once it got going, I put a lot of effort to get the ball rolling, but then it did. And I like this quote here from some of the feedback. I felt more like part of a community. I felt the most motivated than ever in any course, in person or online. So everyone was really together with it. Almost, I think it was like 98% of people joined this forum, joined up to the forum, and maybe just lurked, but they were part of it. And there were some strong people who contributed lots. But everyone felt really happy. And that was really good. But even better, the actual marks were really good. They were considerably better than they had been in normal times. So what I also did was reach out to people personally, and that was a lot easier online as well. You can, if I send an email to you, you're saying, "What? The professor is emailing me? That's scary." Here everything was on. So that allowed me to just email people and say, "Hey, how are you actually doing?" And that's in the beginning, after 2 weeks, and at the end, 2 weeks to go, just to check in on people. It might have only helped like 10%, about 20% answered, then chat further. But about 10% were actually falling through the cracks. I know lecturers to say, yeah, but it's only 10%. That's crazy. With a tiny bit of effort, you can have those 10%. I think there were 3% that actually failed the course. So that's very, very low. Some people were having terrible troubles. And they didn't think, oh, I'm not worthy to bother my lecturer. Yeah, you certainly are, and you should let them know that. Preventative support is effective. Pick up the problems before they turn into real problems, before people lose hope or fall behind too much. And of course, I'm only one person, but if I can support all of you, encourage you to help each other, then you're doing far more work than I could ever do alone. So support people to support each other. And that one, again, was also very easy online. So one thing, just an insight that really shocked me in a good way, and is really interesting tonight. Online formats can reduce exclusion and bias and make everyone happier, more cohesive, as we saw with the community. And I was thinking about why is that? Well, you've got highs and lows. Like here we are. I'm enjoying your company, and I hope that you're enjoying everyone's company too. But there could be little groupings, like if one of you sees the rest of us go to lunch, then that person would be really sad. And in a normal classroom, there's not only actuated loneliness and depression by those sort of things, so just little dynamics of, oh, I don't like that person, oh, I do like that person. And, there's just normal interaction. And of course, then there's also bias, and a lot of people don't dare speak up, especially if there are two people in the room always loudly saying, "Oh, I know the answer," and then everyone keeps quiet. And online, there wasn't any of that. There wasn't also the top enjoyment of seeing you in person, but the getting rid of the negatives meant far more than the negative effects of getting rid of the top top positives. There's still a lot of positives, but the average happiness was went up a lot. And of course, so it did come at the cost of deeper friendships and connections, which is also important. So the bit about online, is awesome. To improve education and better marks and all this. Well, that's great. But of course, online is not the answer. The answer is to choose the format, and possibly multiple formats that suits the occasion. A good mix of it, and then you have to pay attention to who you're dealing with and what's possible and what the course content is. And so forth. I feel that the university has been a little bit too rigid. First, you have to go online, and then you have to do hybrid, and then no more online. It's very top down and doesn't really pay attention to what you want, what you might need. I think there should be freedom instead. So give people freedom to choose the formats, and that'll, of course, give better outcomes. And it does rely a little bit on how independent you want to be, and how much responsibility you want. But in general, that's a lot better. I found, at least from this experience. Anyway, I'm probably a little bit over time now, but they're my main points, points of insight. So the last two, just that keep learning, adapting, improving. You'll get to be an awesome teacher or awesome anything, really. Just keep doing that, and most importantly, just keep caring. Care about people, care about what you can do for them, care about yourself, colleagues, and so forth. That's about it. So yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, any questions? Oh, I rushed through that. Sorry about that. These were not more than drastically over time. Yeah.
Why it's not that you don't do it?
Well, actually, we've got a witness here. Last term, I taught a new course, which was at a lower level that I'm used to. It was 1031, which is for, I think it's maths for life. Thanks, yeah. So a lot of people who might need a tiny bit of maths, but definitely most people don't want to do it, and those who do don't have the opportunity, hardly, except some notable exceptions. Most of the people coming in, they are terrified. But you really have to make it simple and dumb it down. And I tried to do that, but the feedback below, people see that again, it was a little bit of echoes from that course there. I'm used to sort of getting like 100% satisfaction rating, and the average is about, the last 7 years is about 16 courses, about 5.92 or 3, so almost maxing out. And here was 5.2. That's a big drop. So I've been thinking about what to improve there. Got some solutions there. But that's a really good example of this. Keep learning, adapting, improving. So, and as we saw with COVID as well, there'll always be new challenges that you've got to come up, and we might have mastered all of this up here, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're awesome at the new challenge. So, yeah, you've got to stay on the toes. So I'll have it again next year, and hopefully I'll improve on that. And if any of you have any good suggestions of how I can improve on to hear it. Yeah, thanks. That's an awesome question. Any other comments? Nice. Yeah. I suppose the first thing that I'll do in that situation, or hope that I'll do, I probably wouldn't, should do, or first in this situation, talk to friends and talk to any approachable lecturers, student advisors, and get a bit of perspective. Often things aren't nearly as bad as they seem. So, you know, just talking to people lets you feel a little bit less panicky about the situation, and maybe a little bit more motivated. Or if you find out that you actually don't want to go in that direction, it might be a bit clearer to talk to someone. But if you do and don't know how to pull your motivation up, then talking with the lecturer can help just give a bit of perspective, a bit of motivation. And of course, please, at any time, me and most of the school are really eager to help you. You know, get up to speed, and you could even just ask a lecturer or tutor, okay, can we maybe see each other once a week, and just so that you inflict a little bit of structure and pressure on yourself to get things done. Another thing is also, I mean, the term system is a bit harsh. We've only got 9 weeks of teaching really to learn a whole lot of stuff. Pretty brutal. So it's hard on everyone. One of the only silver linings there is that the pain is brief. So if you can get through it, yeah, okay. It's not like 32 weeks of pain. You know, that would really stuff up motivations. I mean, when I was studying, all my courses were full-year courses. And since I was a terrible student to begin with, I studied like for a year, and then I was like a mad, hectic, panicked rush a week before the exam. So there are some definite benefits to the system. Yeah, but please contact me, anyone else. Yeah, you're not on your own. And also, I think that's a good thing to mention. Not so much insights for, well, actually, it would also be insights for teachers, but especially for students that, especially in maths, everyone feels stupid. I mean, I don't know anyone who doesn't feel stupid. Well, actually, maybe one or two people. They're very exceptional. I have professors who are, their careers pretty much, they've proven themselves a million times. I know that I'm stupid at most maths, in fact. But I found some areas that I'm really good at, and it's fine that I have things that are much more clever than me, and we can collaborate. But when you're a student level, you don't have that, you haven't done enough to have that confidence. So you just sit there terrified that someone will find out that you're really stupid. You fail the exam, and then you've got these people in class that say, yeah, I know the answer. Yeah, you've taken the course before. Last year, you failed it. I say, no one else in the class knows that. So they just feel stupid. So, oh, what a brainy person. So there is a lot of fear, and the basic fact is that everyone is in the same boat, but no one really dares say, oh, I'm stupid. Are you stupid too? Yeah, I'm stupid. Can we be stupid together? Maybe help each other be less stupid. And then, but that's hard at this stage. So yeah, but that is the fact. I've had top students like used to getting 99, whatever, sit in my office almost in tears because they weren't getting, they failed an exam. They didn't get 100, they only got 98. Oh, what are my chances of whatever? Like shit. And like this poor person, such a lovely person, very, very smart, was thinking of dropping out. Sorry. Yeah. Yes, we should. But I'm more than happy to talk about these things outside. And yeah. Once again, thank you so much. It was lovely seeing your